All right, we're live.
All right. Hello.
Nice to meet you, Eli. Welcome to whatever this is.
Thank you
Uh,
for.
yeah. You have you watched the previous videos that I've done on this?
No.
Okay, that's
My
okay.
friend did it, but I did not watch the video.
All right. So that's fine. So let me just say a few things for your benefit and for anyone watching.
Hmm.
Um, obviously, I'm gonna try to figure out your type, and I'm not gonna charge you any money to do it.
Yeah.
But what I think is a little different than what like the paid services will do is really just I'm not gonna point at you and say you're a that.
Okay.
I'm more just gonna at the end tell you what type I think you probably are. But then
Mhm.
you know, if you've taken tests or if you've thought about yourself and you thought you were a different type, then we
Yeah.
can talk about it. And who knows? Maybe we'll be in agreement about the conclusion, or maybe you'll think you're one type and I'll think you're a different type. But then it just gives you it just gives you another opinion of someone else outside of your own brain,
Hmm.
which is kind of what I've found is a difficult thing. Is like how do you analyze your own mind,
Yeah.
because you're on the inside, kind of.
Hmm.
I think that's the only thing I wanted to say. Basically, we'll go for somewhere around an hour, and about halfway through, I should be finished with this drink here, and I will go and like take an intermission, um, and so we'll split the video up into two parts that way.
Alrighty. See ya. Awesome.
Um, okay. So let's see. Lately, I've been starting off with a, a, the kickoff question that I've been starting off with
Hmm.
people has been, do you see yourself as an idealist? And you can tell me whatever you think that means, but what are your thoughts on that?
Um. So, I mean, my initial reaction to that word, um, I usually imagine idealists to be two things. I guess either somebody who's would be described as optimistic,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody who's just sort of head in the clouds, um, sort of a daydreamer. So I'm wondering which. I guess I would consider myself for both of those. I'd consider myself a realist,
Mm-hmm.
probably leaning towards pessimist. And I would, if we're going by the second definition, I'd probably say I'm, yeah, a bit more head in the clouds sort of person.
Okay. Um, let's see. Everybody. So I don't know, like, to what degree you're familiar with typology and things like that.
Mm,
So hopefully, things I'm asking you won't be loaded up with too much baggage. But
yeah,
if it does, I guess the way I would say it is, I'm on your team in this one. Like,
yeah.
basically, you don't have anything to lose from trying to figure out what do I mean,
Okay.
um, or trying to give me as real of an answer as you can, because it just kind of doesn't do you any good if I
Yeah.
get thrown off the trail, basically. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we
I
both
see.
have to work together, basically, to for me to get onto the right trail.
Okay.
So, um, so do you, I think a lot of people, like, when I think about personality type, I kind
Hmm.
of think about it like handedness. It's kind of
Hmm.
like the handedness of the mind, It's like how you naturally prefer. Like, if I throw a ball at you, you are gonna reach with one hand or the other, and there's
Yeah.
no, like, that's just how you developed. And it
Hmm.
could be nurture and it could be nature, and we could argue forever about what the circumstances were that caused you to be right-handed or left-handed or whatever, and same thing about personality type. But
Hmm.
um, so, would you say that you think that you have a tendency to, when you're in your just day to day life or whatever,
Hmm.
to live more in your experience, like in the past
Hmm.
and past situations? Or would you say that you have a very strong sense of presence, like you're with your body right now and you
Hmm.
are understanding what's going on right now, like very in the moment, and like good reflexes and things like that? Or would you say that you are contemplating the consequences of your actions, you know, thinking about the future, thinking about your plans or strategy or whatever, or thinking about what other people are going to do or whatever, but just basically, I'm not fishing for any particular answer here. I'm just
Mhm.
trying to get a sense for like where you think you are on that spectrum.
Um, on that spectrum, I'd say I generally try to be present. I try to sort of ground myself in whatever's happening in the moment. Um, but in terms of where on the spectrum I naturally lie, I think I tend to contemplate about the future a bit more.
Okay.
Sort of exploring. Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay. Um, and um, let's see. What do you think you're going to be doing in 5 years? Like, walk me through a day in the life of you in 5 years.
So in 5 years, I assume. So I'm currently learning to be an actor. So that's what I'm majoring here in college for.
Okay.
So, and in 5 years, I will have graduated. So I assume 5 years going to be in a small, shitty apartment in New York City with a couple
Okay.
roommates, trying to find work, probably working some waiter job.
Okay.
Um, but hopefully, I constantly try to sort of create my own projects, whether that be artistic or intellectual research, I suppose. Um, so I don't know. I have so many different like I guess like areas of I tend to start things like I tend to have an idea like ooh maybe this would be it'd be cool to pick up painting and then a month later it's kind of faded away into some new thing. So I really have no idea right now. But
So do you feel like ideas are like a bird that you've just like caught, but then you're gonna let it go? Like it's not like a permanent thing, or how would you describe it in your head? Like you just mentioned, you kind of will try something for a while, and then
yeah,
you know. But I mean, that's. I'll just say this: a lot of different types. I don't know how old you are, but you're in college, so maybe early 20s, right?
yeah, 19.
19.
Mm,
A lot of people are experimenting about a lot of ideas at that age,
yeah.
no matter what type they are. So
Mm.
you know it. But yeah, so tell me a little bit more about. Um, well, let me ask a tangential question, and we can talk about ideas and stuff. But um, would you say that you're the type of person that likes to keep your options open, or do you prefer to meticulously plan things out, or are you somewhere? Where are you on that spectrum? I guess.
I tend to begin to meticulously plan things step by step.
Uh
Like,
huh.
for example, if I'm planning on traveling, I will like make a whole schedule of things to do,
Uh huh.
places to see. I'll spend hours making it. And then when the time comes to actually initiate that plan, I usually sort of just, um, I usually abandon it. I usually sort of just go wherever the wind takes me, I guess. Um,
So do you intentionally abandon it, or why do you think you abandon it?
I think mainly just because I I don't really enjoy being it adds a layer of pressure that I don't really enjoy. It adds a
Okay.
bit of stress. Yeah.
To have a plan essentially, to feel,
Yeah.
do you feel like boxed in by the plan essentially?
Yeah, I feel boxed in. I feel like it makes things a bit more restrictive. Yeah, it feels like by having decided all the options beforehand, I have sort of eliminated all these other possibly cool
Sure,
things to
sure, sure.
yeah.
And okay, so would you say that let's see, this you got me going in some interesting directions here. So um, let me ask you this. Um, so you're in the arts. Has that been something that has been constant for you throughout life?
Yes, I always sort of thought that I was going to be doing something in the arts. I generally always believed since I was little that I was going to be an actor.
Uh-huh.
I would say junior year of high school, I thought I was actually going to major in philosophy. I kind of dropped. I thought that seemed like a more realistic, sort of steady and safe choice.
Mm-hmm.
But then senior year, I kind of got back on track with my initial interest in the arts. So yeah,
Okay. Um, Give me 1 second. I'm just sort of thinking things through a little bit.
no problem.
Um, okay, so yeah. Okay, so do you feel like some people are born leaders, some people are born followers, some people are kind of do their own thing. Where do you fall into that kind of thing?
Uh, it really, I tend to generally, it really depends. Usually when it's an artistic project, especially one that I'm passionate about, I think I tend to sort of take the leader role. I try to shoot out as many ideas as I can,
Mm-hmm.
um, and receive as many ideas as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, in just sort of a universal setting, whether that be in the class or a job or wherever, I think I tend to be more of a mediator in that I kind of want everyone's voice to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I usually find myself tending to wait for other people to ask for my ideas and opinions. So I guess in that way, I'm a bit more of a follower. Um, I kind of wait till everyone else has spoken for me to kind of start to go on.
And is that because out of courtesy, or is that because you want to hear everyone's ideas, or are you still formulating your ideas, or what's the reason that you're waiting?
Um, because I think part of it is because, um, yeah, I think it's both. I think it's all of the above. I think I try to be courteous, and I
Mm-hmm.
also, um, I guess, in a sense, it's sort of probably, even though I haven't really thought about it, it's a good question. It probably stems from some area of like self-interest of if I let everybody else speak and um, get myself interested in what they have to say, hopefully they'll, you know, also be interested in whatever I have to say.
I see. I see.
That
So
isn't
you're
me
so you're
speaking.
not naturally interested in what they have to say. It's more like you you may or may not be interested in what they have to say, depending on whether you want to hear about what that's.
Exactly. That's not to say that I'm not, sometimes like, oh, that's a great idea, and like,
Yeah.
go want to learn more about it. But
Sure. Sure.
I go into it thinking, yeah, hope there will probably be some good ideas. There'll probably be some ideas that, I won't enjoy too much.
Sure.
Kind
Sure.
of
Sure.
have to sift through them.
So what makes an idea good for you? Is it good because you like it? Is it good because it's valid? Is it good because it's smart, or because it works for a lot of people, or what like how what's the criteria you decide makes an idea good?
Definitely not if it works for a lot of people. I think what makes an idea, it's generally just a feeling. Usually, it's something that I think um, has a lot to go off of, and usually it's creative. Usually, if it's something that is original or that I hadn't ever considered or heard before,
Yeah,
uh, I think
you're more
it
interested in
lights
that.
my fire. Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a second here.
You probably sound quite arrogant now that I'm saying this all out
No, no, not at all. Not at all. You're describing a certain cognitive preference to me, and
loud.
I'm just kind of using my little chart here to just narrow it down so I can kind of keep track.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, yeah. Okay, that's good.
Mm.
So, believe it or not, we're about halfway there.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, good. I normally don't get so much into feelings kind of questions
Hmm.
so early on, but I think it's interesting talking about values, talking about perception and things like that. Um, let me ask you this question. Do you feel like you have a better handle on, if you had to say, it could be even, and that's a valid answer too. Like you could say I'm in the middle, so
Hmm.
that's an option. But would you say that it's obvious to you that you have a better handle on the temperature of the room, or on your own inner temperature, your own feelings of a certain matter? In other words, do you have to soul search to figure out what's up with your feelings, or do you have to figure out the room to you know what I mean? Which one is
Yeah.
easier for you to tap into, kind of?
Um, I think when it comes to social situations, I consider myself pretty observant of people.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think um, when I get really drawn into a conversation or a group, a lot of, I guess, I tend to say things that I guess are sort of borderline socially, kind of just that on the border. People can be
Slightly
like
unacceptable or almost
slightly
unacceptable.
unacceptable.
But
Um,
you're aware of that when that happens, right? You're probably very aware,
yeah, I
even
would.
if you, let's say, let me say it this way, like part of you is pushing you over that edge or close to that edge, but the other part of you knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's usually, well, it changes. Like when I'm with a group of people that I know, that I'm close with, like a group of friends,
Mm-hmm.
um I tend to not really care. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think sometimes my friends probably leave the room and they're like, "Wow, he said that." Like, "Wow, that was unexpected." But I think when I'm with a group of strangers, I'm much more. Sometimes I think I say things, um, and then immediately afterwards, I'm like, "Oop, that was not the right choice."
Do you care if they like you? I mean, it's okay, by the way, if you
Yeah.
do, because I mean I do, so
Mhm.
I'll just admit
Um,
that.
yeah. I don't really care if people like me. I care if they dislike me.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be thought of that way too.
Hmm.
Well, I guess that's two different angles, isn't it? One is like not wanting to be outcast, and the other one is wanting status. And
Yeah.
some people want status. They want people to know when they're in the room, and
Yeah.
they want people to demand and want to be their friend so strongly.
Yeah.
And then other people just don't want to be like embarrassed or treated
Yeah.
like shit or something. You know what I mean? Just don't want those negative social feelings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let me ask you this question. I'm going to challenge your ability to think convergently.
Hmm.
So could you tell me what a piece of steak, the moon, and trees have in common? Could you give me 5 things that those 3 items have in common as quickly as you can?
Okay. Okay. As quickly as I can. They're
As
all
quickly
composed
as you
of
can.
atoms.
Don't worry. Take your time if you need to. But
Okay.
yeah.
Um, Tell me if I'm doing it right. And stop me
Okay.
if I'm doing it wrong. But they're all composed of atoms.
Okay.
They're all solid. I guess they're all related to some, they're all sort of life or nature related.
Okay.
Um, they're all bigger than my thumb.
Yep.
And they are all, I guess you can touch all of them. Or
Yeah.
no, wait, you can't really touch. Yeah, I mean, you can touch all of them.
Yeah. You can touch all of them.
Yeah.
That's 4.
Oh, four. And you can you do? You can walk on, or you can't really walk on a state. Sake.
I
I
mean, you
guess you can.
can,
You
but
can take a picture of all of them.
okay.
Yeah.
If I said I wanted 2 more, could you give me 2 more?
Sure. You can. Um, I guess they're all can have colors.
Yeah.
Um, and they are all associated with what are they all associated with? I guess they're all they're each associated with the elements, I guess. Stake uses fire,
Sure.
tree, earth, moon. I guess you would associate it with the sky,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
air. Yeah.
Um, great. I appreciate that. So
Mhm.
now I'm going to give you another task that is going to seem similar, but is actually requires a completely different kind of thinking, and
Okay.
and people that typically are good at one are not good at the other, or vice versa. Some
Hmm.
people are not good at either. But
Yeah.
anyways, so and you said you hadn't seen either of my videos that I've done on typing people yet, right?
No, because I heard about this and I didn't
Okay.
really want anything to
You
get
didn't want to.
spoiled.
You wanted to go in blind. That's good.
I'm blind. Yeah.
Okay, so could you give me five unconventional uses of rope that aren't like suicide or like, you know,
Husband. Okay.
yeah. I mean, weird uses of rope as quickly as you possibly can.
Weird uses of rope. You could, some of these are going to make no sense at all. You could wrap rope around a water bottle and throw the bottle into someone's mouth for them to drink.
Okay.
Um, you can uh, use it, you can light one end on fire and run through a forest, lighting trees on fire.
Okay.
You can wrap it around your forearm and um, stab it with a fork, kind of fun, I guess. Um, you can soak it in water and suck up the water from it, sort of wring it.
Yeah.
And you can wear it as a headband.
Okay. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Nice.
All right. So, let's see here. A few more minutes, and I'm gonna take a break
Alrighty,
to think about everything that we have talked about.
no problem.
Um, let me ask you this question: would you say that the people in your life would consider you more outgoing or reserved?
Definitely reserved. I usually when I meet people, all my friends have told me this as well. I mean, I kind of know it about myself, but when I first, especially going into college, everybody sort of noticed this. I'm extremely shy in the beginning.
Yeah.
I I keep my mouth shut for like the first 2 weeks in a group or knowing somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, I tend to be much more outgoing and kind of kind of starkly different. I tend to go from being like sort of in the corner and then sort of hyper, I'd say. So yeah,
So, but only around people that you have already established some level of rapport with, and it's like you
exactly.
have to. Now, is it that you have to be known by them, or they have to be known by you, or you have to know each other, or some like what is it about the connection? How far? What is it about the threshold it has to cross?
I sort of need to, I I kind of have to gauge what they're comfortable with, what they tend to be interested in, what
Mm-hmm.
they're, what they tend to find humorous. And also partly, I kind of want to see I guess I kind of want to see how serious or interested they are in wanting to get to know me is
Sure,
also
sure.
a part of it. Um, and then once I've sort of established that, I I kind of tend to mold myself around what I think they would, my behavior around what will be appropriate for that person. Um, and then, but most of the time, I think after kind of, I kind of just begin to slowly warm up to sort of see how far it can go in terms of being myself, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Um, how good are you with like tools and like using your hands and doing like stuff that requires building or assembling or whatever? Like, what's
Um,
your aptitude, I guess?
I was always bad at arts and crafts. I always had these like big ideas of, and I always tried to have this sort of creative avant-garde sort of experimental concept, and then I would never really be able to be satisfied with the finished product. I would never be able to really make how I envisioned.
I see.
when we're replaced.
So is it that you would see the outcome and then you would go to try to do it, and it
Hmm.
wouldn't be anything like your outcome, so you were
Yeah,
dissatisfied? I see.
exactly.
So would you say for you the artistic process is less like jazz, like where it's improvisational, and more like architecture, where it's like intentional, like where you're thinking about the
Mhm.
end product and then working your way towards it?
I would say when it comes to acting, which is like I guess the art I practice most frequently, it tends to sort of it's definitely jazz. It's definitely playful
Mm-hmm.
and kind of trying things out and kind of going a bit crazy and sort of seeing what fits. But then when it comes to I don't know, something like drawing, yeah, I tend to have a specific idea. Um, or if it's like designing a set, I tend to have like a specific idea that I want and will try to accomplish.
I see. I see.
But I'm
Okay.
not completely against like if new ideas like pop up, obviously.
Sure, sure. Would you say that would you say you're more interested by the unknown or by a new idea?
Um, how do you mean?
Like naturally some
Hmm.
people want to think about the unknown and that's where they want to spend their time
Mm.
contemplating. Other
Uh,
naturally other people want to be in situations sort of and they want to use their ideas
uh,
and have a lot of ideas and
mhm,
execute those ideas. So that's kind of like some people what I mean to say is some people are playing it kind of more internally with their ideas and
mhm.
other people are playing a little more externally and using their ideas in an improvisational kind of way where it requires a real time kind of a component, you know.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're doing a lot of both, kind of. But
Mhm.
do you think that you gravitate in one of those two directions more than the other?
Um, I definitely, hmm, I don't know. It definitely, I used to not have, I guess, I used to be much more externally, much less interested in the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sort of the older I've gotten, the more interested in that sort of internal process of exploring ideas I've become. But I
Mm-hmm.
would say, um, that's a tough question. I would say I'm sort of in the middle, I guess, if I can use that response for that.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Um, do you feel like you're more in tune with your physical body or the inner world?
I definitely I used to have a lot of trouble identifying how what was happening in my inner world, especially when how I was feeling or how I thought about a certain thing. Um, and I sort of used how I was feeling physically to understand how I was feeling emotionally.
Uh huh.
So generally, that tends to be my strategy towards still now today to see kind of what's going on inside as I kind of see what's happening with my body um, before jumping into the internal aspects of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
and do you think that you have good reaction skills?
Um,
Or would you say you're more clumsy?
I'm definitely more clumsy.
More clumsy. Okay.
Yeah.
And are you involved in any sports or anything along those lines? Doesn't have to be sports, but could be some kind of physical activity of some kind.
Um, Currently, no. I have a movement class, but that's less for acting, but that's more sort of like, I mean, there's some dance required for that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also sort of a required course. So, yeah, I'm not currently doing any sports.
Okay. And here's another question I have for you. Would you say that you have any difficulty with memory recall?
Um, as actually, I put a I that tends to be what gets me the most stressed in my day-to-day life, is I
Mm-hmm.
tend to think that I have a bad memory,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially in the short term. I think I tend to have a really poor memory that I
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
actively sort of try to pick up everything that's happening, or after something happens, I try immediately to um, sort of remember it or ground it in my mind so that I can think about it again later.
Okay.
Um, so like in a group discussion, for example, I'll sort of, if there are a bunch of people speaking, I'll sort of like look at each individual person and try and find a specific word that they had said or one specific idea that they had put out so that I can remember everything everybody said, which tends to be sort of stressful. But
Hmm.
yeah. So naturally, I think I have a bad memory, but I try really hard to sort of counteract that.
So when so how much does your experience factor into a decision you're gonna make? No, maybe that's a bad way of. It's a very vague way of saying it, but um, how much are you relying on your own, let's say, personal narrative
Mm.
to make the next decision?
Um, I would say I tend to. Hmm, I think in no, I think I tend to try and I keep my experiences, my past experiences, sort of in the back of my mind, but I try to sort of look at whatever decision I'm about to make as something that is probably going to be entirely different than anything that I'd gone through before. I don't know if that answers the question. Um, I,
Maybe.
yeah, I guess I don't really go to my past experience and observe it or think about it deeply when making a decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so what are you factoring in?
Um, Usually I'm factoring in as to how whatever that decision that I'm making, how I can make it successful. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
um, trying to, I don't know, make a decision to, I mean, it also depends on the size of the decision, but I guess I usually just factor in, yeah, like I sort of make a game plan for myself. I try and pick specific things that I need to tackle to
Mm-hmm.
make whatever decision I'm making um, effective or actually work out or happen.
Do you feel like you have a good sense of knowing when the time is right?
Time is right
Yeah,
to
to
just do
act,
anything,
to do
to
some,
act.
to move on in some way, to do something.
No, I do not have a good sense. I tend to either procrastinate or um, do, or a lot of times is in social situations, I think I sort of jump into doing something way too quick, I guess.
I see.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. So you're more likely to act quickly, is what you're saying.
Um, yeah, I'd say more likely to act quickly. Um, I don't know. It depends. I would say in everything except social, I think in social situations, like when it comes to, I don't know, confronting a person or trying to, or asking sort of a question to a teacher or somebody, I tend to act sort of just like on impulse, which isn't always the wisest decision if I'm making any sense.
Sure, sure, sure.
But otherwise, when it comes to like doing work or needing to get something done or just finish a project, I tend to procrastinate a lot more.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, all right.
Alrighty.
I think I've got it down to three.
Oh, okay. Nice.
But you're definitely a tough case, I'll say, because you use you seem to be adept in different kinds of intuition, which is good, you
Mm.
know. But you're involved in different kinds of arts that are requiring some internal, like stage art, for
Hmm.
example. Like that's not something that's not really improvisational, to be honest.
Yeah.
Stage art, it's like you have to look at the stage, you have to look at the script of whatever you're doing, you have to
Yeah.
envision what it could look like, and then you have to probably draw it out, and you know, and then you've got to get the materials and put everything together. And so it's
Hmm.
a lot more, it requires a lot more planning and
Yeah.
strategy, kind of.
Hmm.
Whereas the acting part is definitely more, like you said, it's more jazz. And
Yeah.
so so I'm gonna take my break now,
Alrighty.
and when we come back, I'm going to try to get to the bottom of uh, the more new. We're gonna go a little further into nuances. So
Okay.
I think I've eliminated a number of more obvious ones, and
Okay.
now we've got to somehow get into the further nitty gritty.
Okay.
But I think it'll be interesting. So stay tuned,
Alright.
viewers at home,
Yeah.
and I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
Alrighty. Uh,
Cool.
do you want me to